TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5FC.
NT 5 PM testing concluded.
When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
And it is indeed time for Skynet. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin? I will take that as a no. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX. My name's Tom, Tango Oscar Mike, and I'll be your net controls for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic can enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break very enthusiastically in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. That lets me know that you are done. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight, let's see. There we go. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online by going to the club website, www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check in electronically by going to the W5FC website, scrolling down until you find tonight's Skynet information, and then look for the login information, which may or may not be there. Let me look. Oh my, I may not have put it in. Well, just look for a previous one and plug it in. I think you can do it there. I made a mistake. I put this up and I don't think I put in the check-in, although I see some folks there. When I get an opportunity, I'll put that link in and recognize you in a little bit. Tonight, let's see, you can now, I did that. See here. I have to tell you, folks, I did a lot of moving this weekend, so I'm a little out of practice here. So here we go. Tonight, you can now get there. I found it. This is 90 minutes long and structured in several parts. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where when you look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, was up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite messages over the next couple of days, astronomical and Q&A, astronomical Q&A in a 73 round. Depending on the length of time, we may not get to every section, but we'll do the best we can. All amateurs with a license to transmit on frequency are welcome to check in. So the first thing we'll do is take short time check-ins. The purpose of that is to simply give the folks that will be leaving very quickly an opportunity to contribute to the net if they want to before disappearing into the ether. So do I have any short time check-ins this evening?
Kilo 5. Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in beautiful Coppell, Texas.
Okay, we just have one. That's K5JDW, John in Coppell, my buddy. John, do you got anything for us this evening or any questions?
Negative, sir. I'll be in and out. K5JDW.
Very good, and that's how that works. I will now take general, well, let me first, on the electronic check-ins, let me go ahead and acknowledge those folks. I checked in first, but forgot to post the link. That's KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi, and I am in Corpus Christi over the Echolink node. Well, actually, All-Star Link node. I've got N5LIG, Dale in Dallas, K5JHA, KF5JHA, that's Chaz and Bob the Cat in Mesquite, AA5AH, Robert Richardson, N5BB, Bill in Irving, and NT5TM, Tony in Bird City, better known as Dallas, near White Rock Lake. Okay, we will now go to general check-ins. This will be over air. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign name and your location, please.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Foxtrot Romeo Jacob and Farmers Branch.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia is forward.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima Phil Forest Ranch.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4 Mike Foxtrot India WV4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in North Carrollton.
This is
And there, let me go ahead and get these folks checked in. There was a double or two. If you do not hear your name, I will try it, or call sign. I will have another round here in just a few seconds. KG5UFR, Jacob in Farmers Branch. ND5F, that's Virginia and Fort Worth. KF5 is ZBL, Mr. Bill in Farmers Branch. WB4MFI, Ted Dallas. KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in North Carrollton. I'll take additional check-ins. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'm looking at Echolink. I believe everyone's checked in, but All-Starlink is an unknown. So if you are digitally signed in somewhere and have not been acknowledged, you can come now. Echolink or All-Starlink only, please. Okay, silence there. I'll go ahead and open the net up in any mode, and if you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name and where you're transmitting from. Any mode. Okay, if you're out there bashful and have not checked in, we'll have additional rounds to check in throughout the net. So if you'd like to join us at that time, you can check in then. I will now ask for general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These could be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
This is
Tony, you're up. Go ahead.
Good evening, Tom. After I finish, you might want to check. It sounds like you keep doubling with, I think it's Gus, W5GUS, but I'm not positive. Tonight's Afterglow movie discussion will focus on Extraterrestrial, a movie from 2014. I could not bring myself to finish that, but some of our braver amateurs did. Join us at about 10:30-ish tonight and share your thoughts on the movie, or listen to the rest of us to find out if you want to give it a try. We do have our fourth Monday Geek Net this Monday at 7. Any topic that you find geeky is always welcome on this net. Great time of year for butterfly observing, for example. And don't forget that March has 5 Mondays. There's a surprise net on the 30th. If you have any surprising ideas, please share them with me, nt5tm at w5fc.org. And thank you for listening, nt5tm.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And let's see here. Yep, that's done. Let me go ahead. N5QS. Were you trying to check in, Gus?
Thank you, Tom. Yes, W5 Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra checking in this evening, and thank you, Tony. W5GUS.
All right, thank you, Gus. And I wrote your correct call sign. You think after 20 years I would know it, but I'm going senile. W5GUS. I've got you checked in, Gus. Let's see. Next up are our usual net announcements. So let me see here. I'll quickly go through these. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, we have the AMSAT Amateur Radio Satellite Group net, which there are 3 available. There's the national net. This one is available over Echolink. All you have to do is that will give you the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find that net under groups at *AMSAT*. Also, there's a live audio link available on their website, which is amsatnet.com. That net originates in Houston, Texas. We have 2 local nets here in Dallas. Very fortunate to have that. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins, so you can ask questions of the net control. Not something you can do from the AMSAT net in Houston. So, very helpful. AMSAT net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater. On Tom N5HYP is net control, although there have been some rotating net controls for that. First Tuesday of the month, I should say, is the DARC Club night, and there is no AMSAT net East because Tom is usually at the meeting. There's a Dallas AMSAT net West every Wednesday night on the Arlington repeater at 9 p.m. That is frequency is 147.140 megahertz, scale tone 110.9 with a positive offset. Tony has mentioned the Monday night nets. And get complete information on what those nets are and what to expect. We also have the Saturday night net, which is what you're part of right now. We have TechNet from 7 to 8, where you can ask all things of ham radio and amateur radio question and answers, swap meet, and a whole bunch of other things. Skynet, which is what you're on now, about astronomy, space, and space exploration. The Afterglow movie net at 10:30 to midnight, where we talk about the movies, which I will bring up here in just a moment. We also have a daily net available for the DARC. We have here daily the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net. That's at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater. Learn how message traffic is handled in this formal training net. Newbies are welcome, as this is a training net. The NTS also conducts a regular net in the evening on the Irving repeater, W5FC with a frequency of 146.72 at 9:30 p.m. They also have a scale tone of 110.9. On getting this exactly right every time. So here it is. Gosh, Wally, said the first alien, why are Earth people so stupid? You know, hiding in the basement of somebody's home, knowing full well we can simply follow them in our interstellar spaceship. Well, Bees, continued the second alien, it's because they've been brought up on crappy science fiction and horror movies. So they do whatever they first think of, which is what crappy actors have done in even crappier SF horror movies. And it's just natural for them to do stupid things at the worst time. Suddenly, several clueless Earthlings stood in a circle, smoking cigarettes and trying to call the cops on their now non-functional cell phones about alien abduction. They could hear the cops laughing on the other end of the call. Like now, Wally Alien turned to the trans-molecular high-beam flashlight transportation device and dragged a couple of Earthlings on board. Now what do we do with them? Asked Steve Alien. Wally Alien chuckled. What we always do, give them a medical examination using standard probes that have been in the icebox overnight, strip them of all their clothes, and then drop them just outside the city limits. Then we'll see what happens. We'll record it for hilarious alien hijinks and Metaluna 4 primetime TV. It'll be a hit. Join us for another alien abduction movie, Extraterrestrial from 2014. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. And don't worry, if you haven't seen the movie, kudos to you. We can talk about any alien abduction movie because, quite honestly, Extraterrestrial from 2014 steals from all of them, as well as every horror movie you've ever seen. And with that, you can keep up with all of the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, W5FC.org. Let's see, we have additional check-in here. We've got a I5SR, that's Schwann over in Carrollton. over on Echolink, I don't see anybody new there. I'll ask over air. Is anyone out there would like to check in now who I have not acknowledged yet? Please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. See if I can find my push to talk button. I moved this week, so everything's in different places than I'm used to. So makes for an interesting time here in the pseudo shack. It's not quite ready for prime time yet. Okay, well, it is now time for information from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. We'll go ahead and ask Chaz, KF5JHA, what he has on tap for us tonight. Chaz, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Bob the cat is actually on the balcony, so he's not near the computer tonight. That's great. On March the 27th, that's in about 6 days, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas will be meeting. The meeting is going to be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Joe Eisman. Now, if I remember this correct, Joe Eisman used to be the person that was at the University of Texas, and him and his team built the Atlas detector on the CERN collider. So this is going to be interesting. But his topic is going to be solar system astrophotography. Now, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts Saturday night public observing sessions in the area. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas observing sessions. On the third Saturday of the month, that would be tonight, the stargazing held at Cedar Hill. It's clear tonight. Do we have a ham radio operator that's at the stargazing at Cedar Hill that would like to make a report? Please come now with your call sign. Well, hearing nothing, I guess they're not reporting on the radio, but the crescent moon near the Pleiades, the Orion Nebula. Oh, there's so much to see in the night sky tonight. So I hope you're getting some good observing sessions in. You can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Tom, it's all up to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Chaz, and yes, I should ID myself. I am KE5ICX, and yes, I'm down in Corpus Christi, right on the water, in my new place, which is even closer to the water. Pretty cool. Let's see, next up is National Space Society Events and Activities. This is handled by Bill, N5BV. Bill, what do you have for us this evening from KE5ICX?
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BV. I happen to be the National Space Society North Texas Chapter Vice President and Membership Director. You can reach me at space@byram.net. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Search for National Space Society of North Texas on Facebook. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month at Spring Creek Barbecue on Highway 183 in Irving. Our next chapter meeting will be on Sunday, April the 12th. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous at Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. You do not need to be a member of any organization to attend. The next Space Rendezvous will be held on Friday, March the 27th. That's this upcoming Friday. The big National Space Society event each year is the International Space Development Conference, ISDC. ISDC 2026 will be held in Tysons Corner, Virginia, which is not far from Washington, D.C. The dates are June the 4th through the 7th of 2026, and I will be there. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, N5BB, at his QRZ-listed email address or at space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net. Of course, we're very excited about the upcoming Artemis 2 mission, which hopefully will launch sometime soon after April, no earlier than April the 1st. That's all I got. This is N5BB. Back to net.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thanks for that information. If you would like to check in electronically, I think I got the website updated with the hot link for you to go there if you'd like. So if you're going to go out on air and check in that way, you can do so. Or if you're a non-ham and you happen to be listening and would like to be acknowledged on the air, we'll be more than happy to do that as well. Just go to the same site, plug in the information that you know, and we'll be happy to mention you on the air. Okay. As net control, I get to pick the topic and whatever it is I want to talk about. That's part of that's one of the bennies you get for being net control. It also takes care of the segment automatically. So the thing that I found was actually at the space.com website, but it does actually come from a paper that is from the where is it? natureastronomy.com, I believe is the website. This information is available if you go to our website. You can find the link listed. So the article is called "The 5 Nucleobases of DNA and RNA Found on Asteroid," and I'm going to just say it's Ryugu. I think it's Ryugu or something, but I'm going to call it Ryugu because it's just simply easier. If you want to see some of the slides from this article, or pictures were offered in the article, they are being transmitted as well. The Space.com article is written by Robert Lee, so I'll give Robert credit for this. It says a sample collected by the Hayabusa 2 spacecraft from a skidding top-light asteroid contained the nucleobases adenine, thymine, cytosine, thiamine, and uracil. Scientists have discovered that the sample of the Ryugu Asteroid collected by the spacecraft contains the nucleobases that I just listed, the building blocks of DNA and RNA on which all life is based. Because asteroids like Ryugu formed 4.6 billion years ago, when the planets were being born around the sun, it had remained relatively unspoiled since, so the discovery sheds new light on the chemical conditions that existed at the dawn of civilization. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, and thiamine are the 4 bases of the genetic code that make up the rungs of the double helix structure of DNA by forming specific pairs. The adenine and thiamine are guanine with cytosine. In RNA, uracil replaces thiamine to pair with adenine. The detection of these molecules in an asteroid hints that they can be formed without the presence of life, and may offer clues into how these compounds could be transported across the civilization. The Japanese Aerospace Agency, or JAXA, Hayabusa 2 mission collected samples from the asteroid Ryugu between 2018 and 2019. The spacecraft returned these samples to Earth on December 5th, 2020. Carbonaceous asteroids like the spinning top-shaped Ryugu contain what is effectively a fossil record of unspoiled material from the earliest era of the solar system. Hence why scientists are so keen to get them back here to Earth to study up close and in person. The study of the two samples returned to Earth had previously demonstrated that Ryugu once had liquid water flowing on its surface, strengthening the theory that these space rocks may have delivered water to the surface of our planet. The team, led by JAXA biogeochemist Takashiki Koga, analyzed two Ryugu samples returned by Hayabusa 2, finding at adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and uracil. The results were compared to findings reached when researchers studied samples returned from the asteroid Bennu and to the investigations of the Murchison and Orgueil meteorites collected from Australia in 1969 and France in 1864, respectively. The team discovered significant differences in the concentrations of nucleobases. Ryugu contains roughly comparable amounts of nucleobases, adenine and guanine, known as purines, to cytosine, thymine, and uracil, which are pyrimidines. Myrcene, however, is richer in pyridine nucleobases, while Orgueil samples from Bennu are richer in pyridine nucleobases. These disparities could reflect the different evolutionary histories and environmental birthplaces of Ryugu and Bennu and the parent bodies of Murchison and Orgueil samples. The research further emphasizes the role of asteroids likely played in building the chemical diversity that followed life to arise on Earth. Perhaps the most significant result of this study is the implication that the building blocks of DNA and RNA are widely dispersed through the solar system. And the team's research was published in the journal Nature Astronomy. That's Nature, and that is at nature.com. Just type in the search. If it's not on the top, just put in nucleobases, nucleobases, and you'll find the article. I can answer any questions about this, but if anyone does have a question or comment on this, please come with your call sign now. Do we have any additional check-ins? Okay, we'll go ahead and continue. The next segment is Was Up. That's handled by Chaz again, KF5JHA. Chaz, what do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet Was Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. That was slide number 2. I'm talking about slides that are on the video version of Skynet. If you want to get the video version of Skynet, go to W5FC.org. Click on the link for the YouTube video version of Skynet. There you go. Slide number 3. On March the 20th, that was yesterday at 9:46 a.m. Central Daylight Time, that was the moment of the vernal equinox for the Northern Hemisphere. On this day, the sun rose directly east and set directly west everywhere on the Earth. We also had equal amounts of daylight and darkness, 12 hours of each everywhere on the Earth. Slide master, slide number 4. Tonight, the sunset is around 7:39, it was, Central Daylight Time, which is later than it was just a week ago. This time of the year, the sunset will vary by around the amount of a minute per day. Last Saturday, the sunrise was at 7:33 p.m. Central Daylight Time. During the winter solstice around December 21st, here in the Dallas area, we only have about 10 hours of sunlight. At the summer solstice around June 21st, we have about 14 hours of daylight here in the Dallas area. That is a change of 4 hours of daylight per day from the winter variation to the summer variation. That variation of the number of hours of daylight from winter to summer depends on where you are on the surface of the Earth. At the equator, people experience 12 hours of daylight every day. In fact, the sun rises and sets just about the same time every day throughout the year for those living at the equator. Slide number 5. But for those scientists that are living at the South Pole, they didn't have any nighttime on March the 1st. Nope. Nor did they have any nighttime on March the 2nd, nor any time in the last 3 weeks. The sun set around March the 20th, yesterday, and won't rise again until September 21st or 22nd for them. They have 6 months of daylight and then 6 months of darkness. They only have 1 day during the entire year. Slide master, slide number 6. Let's take a look at the current evening sky. Face southwest evening sky. Look high in the southwest. Orion can be found by looking for the 3 stars of equal brightness all in a straight line and evenly spaced. This is the belt of Orion. There are 2 bright stars above the belt that represent Orion's shoulders. The brighter one on the left is Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. The other one on the right is Bellatrix. The 2 stars below Orion's belt are Orion's knees. The one on the left is Scius. The one on the right is Rigel. Probably heard of Rigel from Star Trek episodes. Slide master, slide number 7. Now using Orion's belt and drawing down and to the left, you'll run into the brightest star in the sky other than the sun. It's called Sirius. Yeah, it's a doggone good star. Because it's called the dog star. Sirius is the brightest star in the constellation of the big dog, which is Canis Major. Slide master, slide number 8. Now, if you go back to Orion's belt and draw a line from the belt stars up and to the right, you should run into the brightest star on Taurus the Bull, Aldebaran. And keep on going to the line just a little bit more, and you should run into a little cluster of faint stars called the Pleiades. I've seen the Pleiades actually from a couple miles from outside of downtown Dallas, so you can see them with your 2 eyes. Aldebaran's stellar classification is a K53. Betelgeuse's classification is a M11. What are these classifications? Let's find that out. We talked about stellar classifications just briefly a couple weeks ago. I thought I'd go into detail tonight. Slide master, slide number 9. Stars are classified by temperature and luminosity. The temperature ratings are actually letters. The hottest stars are type O. The coolest stars are type M. The types from hottest to coolest are O, B, A, F, G, K, M. We remember the order by using a memory, O, B, A, fine girl, kiss me. The hottest stars, type O, are more than 30,000 degrees Kelvin on their surface. Type B stars are between 10,000 and 30,000 degrees Kelvin. Type A stars are between 7,500 to 10,000 degrees K. Type F stars are between 6,000 and 7,500 degrees K. Type G stars, that's what our sun is, between 5,200 to 6,000 degrees Kelvin. Type K are between 3,700 and 3,200, and M-type stars are 3,700 degrees Kelvin or less. There are 10 subcategories within each type. A type O9 star and a type M B0 star are next to each other on the scale. The scale is called the Harvard Classification System. It was designed by Annie Jump Cannon. We've talked about her on Skynet in the past, and I'm sure we'll talk about her again in future Skynet. Slide master, slide number 10. Luminosity classification of stars are rated by Roman numerals. From 0 through VII, which is 7. The main sequence stars, like our sun, are V. That's main sequence. Hypergiants are rated as 0. White dwarfs are rated as 7. The system of luminosity classification is called the Morgan-Canaan system. When I attended the Ohio State University, Dr. Canaan was a professor emeritus. That means he was retired. But he still had an office and came in a couple of times a week. I get to see him occasionally in the hallway at the astronomy department. I remember a graduate student would come up to him with a glass plate containing the spectra of a star, but oriented backwards, and tried to fool Dr. Canaan. Dr. Canaan would immediately reorient the glass plate, hand it back to the graduate student, and telling him the exact classification of the star. And he was always right. The Morgan-Canaan classification system of our sun is a G25 star. Slide master, slide number 11. We've talked about the predicted nova of the star T Coronavirus, which may erupt at any time. Is the current brightness around 10th magnitude. I just checked it a few minutes ago. Still too faint to see with just your two eyes. T Coronavirus was supposed to go nova more than a year ago. In fact, about a year and a half ago. One recent prediction was for it to go nova on November the 10th of 2025. Well, that did not happen. So another prediction is on June 25th, 2026, give or take a couple of days. When it does go nova, T Coronavirus could become as bright as our North Star, which is second magnitude. Now, I can see the North Star with just my eyes. That's all I need, just my eyes, from my very light-polluted location here in Mesquite. Slide master, slide number 12. This image of the sun I took off of the website spaceweather.com on March the 18th. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are at times so large that you can just use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun just passed its 11-year solar maximum. Not quite sure when that happened. I'll have to make some calculations on that one. I presented information on the solar cycle just about 3 months ago on Skynet. Slide master, slide number 13. The moon was, the new moon was on March the 18th, just a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. It was beautiful in the sky just a little bit ago. On March the 22nd, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 366,857 kilometers. The first quarter moon phase is on March the 25th in a few days. Full moon is on April the 1st. Yeah, no kidding, April the 1st. On April the 7th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,970 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 14. So on March 22nd, that's tomorrow in the west, the northwestern evening sky, you can observe the conjunction of the moon, the planet Uranus, and the Pleiades star cluster. The moon's not too far away from the Pleiades tonight. You'll need at least a pair of binoculars to see Uranus. You could use the binoculars to see the star cluster of Pleiades pretty easily as well. Slide master, slide number 15. On March the 26th, there's a conjunction of the moon, Jupiter, and Pollux in the evening sky. It takes place in the constellation of Gemini, which I talked about last week on Skynet. And slide master, slide number 16. On March the 29th, conjunction of the moon and the bright star Regulus can be seen in the eastern evening sky. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 17. I ran through some of that information pretty quickly. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need to fill in any information? Or just have a general astronomy question? My degree's in astrophysics. I might be able to answer it. Or maybe somebody else on the net can answer your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Well, it's flight number 18. So as the moon waned last week, so do these words of this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet, transmitting on the W5FC repeater at 146.88 megahertz. Skynet is also available on Echolink and YouTube. All right, back to our net control. It's up to you now, Tom. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Chaz. Thanks for the report, and thanks for the info on the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. And this is KE5ICX net control for the DARC Skynet this evening. I'll go ahead and pause and ask if there are any additional check-ins. If anyone would like to join us, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and continue. We have space exploration and space history. So that is Gus, W5GUS. See, I got your call sign right, Gus. What do you have for us this evening from KE5ICX?
Okay, thank you, Tom. W5GUS here. Got some interesting stuff this week. We'll start with the March 19th. NASA has successfully completed the rollout of its Space Launch System, SLS rocket, and Orion spacecraft to the launch pad at Pad 39B at Kennedy Space Center. This critical milestone follows a successful flight readiness review and signals the final countdown for the first crewed lunar mission in over 50 years. If you remember, it takes about all day to move the system from where it was in getting repaired out to the launch pad. So it's now at the launch pad and ready to roll. The mission carrying a crew of 4 is currently targeting a launch date as early as April 1st, 2026. Okay, and dateline March 17th, 2026, SpaceX reached a monumental milestone in orbital infrastructure by surpassing 10,000 active Starlink satellites currently in orbit. This was achieved through 2 back-to-back Falcon 9 launches from Vandenberg Space Force Base and Cape Canaveral on the same day. The Constellation continues to expand its global broadband coverage, providing high-speed internet to even the most remote regions of the planet. All right, and the European Space Agency has announced a new financial incentive program worth 50 million euros to stimulate the development of commercial cargo return services. The Aladdin initiative encourages private companies to utilize European launchers, such as Ariane 6, for low Earth orbit cargo demonstration missions. This move is part of European Space Agency's broader strategy to foster a competitive commercial space ecosystem within Europe. All right, European Space Agency also has successfully executed a major deep space trajectory correction maneuver, ensuring a precise rendezvous with the Ryugu Asteroid system later this year. His mission is to conduct a detailed post-impact survey of the asteroid Dimorphos, which was struck by NASA's DARC mission in 2022. The data gathered will provide invaluable insights to planetary defense and asteroid deflection techniques. Okay, March 16th, a M2.7 class solar flare erupted from the sun, triggering a moderate high-frequency radio blackout across the Atlantic Ocean and parts of Africa and Europe. The flare was accompanied by a coronal mass ejection that prompted space weather forecasters to monitor for potential geomagnetic storms. While the blackouts were temporary, they highlighted the ongoing impact of solar activity on Earth's communication and navigation systems. All right, we'll move to space-related birthdays. All right, March 14th, Frank Borman was born in 1928. He commanded the historic Apollo 8 mission, which was the first crewed spacecraft to leave Earth's orbit and circle the moon. He's also remembered for his leadership during the Gemini 7 long-duration mission, proving humans could survive 2 weeks in microgravity. Okay, March 14th, 1967, Michael Fink was born. He was a veteran of 3 space flights and formerly held the American record for the most total time spent in space. He served as the commander of the International Space Station and is an active participant in the amateur radio program from orbit. His ham license is KE5AIT, Kilo Echo 5 Alpha India Tango, ham in space. Okay, March 15th, 1932, Alan Bean was born. He was a lunar module pilot on Apollo 12. Becoming the 4th human being to walk on the lunar surface. After his NASA career, he became a celebrated artist, famously incorporating actual moon dust and spacecraft fragments into his paintings of the lunar environment. That's very artistic. Okay, March 16th, 1932, Walter Cunningham. He served as the lunar module pilot on Apollo 7, first crewed mission of the Apollo program to fly in space. The mission was a critical 11-day test that verified the spacecraft systems and cleared the way for future lunar landing attempts. He also was a ham. WA4SIR. Whiskey Alpha 4, Sierra, India, Romeo. Okay, March 17th, 1930, James Irwin was born. He was a lunar module pilot for Apollo 15 and the 8th person to walk on the moon, where he helped pilot the first lunar roving vehicle. He also is known for his spiritual journey following the mission, founding the High Flight Foundation to share his experiences. That's James Irwin. Okay, then March 17th, 1936, Ken Mattingly was born. He famously missed the Apollo 13 flight due to measles exposure, but played a key role in the ground-based rescue efforts before the later flying Apollo 16. He also commanded 2 space shuttle missions, STS-4, STS-51, contributing significantly to orbital research. March 18, 1954, James Riley was born. Is a geologist who flew on 3 shuttle missions, conducted 5 spacewalks to help build the International Space Station after his NASA career. After his NASA career, he served as director of the U.S. Geological Survey, applying his space-based insights to Earth sciences. He was a ham also. November 5, Yankee Juliet. November 5, Yankee Juliet. James Riley. March 19th, 1949, James Voss, VOSS, is a veteran of 5 space shuttle missions and served as a flight engineer on the 2nd expedition to the International Space Station. He co-holds the world's record for the longest spacewalk, lasting nearly 9 hours during the assembly of the ISS. He is also a ham, Kilo Echo 5, Golf, Kilo Romeo. Now we have Oleg Artemiev, born March 21st, 1970. He is a Russian cosmonaut who has completed 3 long-duration missions to the ISS and is a highly experienced spacewalker. He is well known for his active engagement with the amateur radio community and sharing orbital photography with the public. I think his call is Romeo Zero, India Sierra. I believe that's his call. Let's move to This Week in Space History. Let's see. British in March 13th, 1781, British astronomer William Herschel discovered Uranus, the 7th planet from the Sun, during a survey of the night sky using a telescope that he designed. This was the first time a planet had been discovered since ancient times and effectively doubled the known size of our solar system. Herschel initially mistook the planet for a comet or a star, but its slow orbital motion soon revealed its true planetary nature. The discovery fundamentally challenged existing astronomical models and highlighted the power of modern telescope observation. Uranus remains a primary target for study due to its extreme axial tilt and unique icy composition. March 16th, 1926, Robert Goddard achieved a historic milestone by launching the world's first liquid-fueled rocket. The rocket, fueled by gasoline and liquid oxygen, reached an altitude of 41 feet during a brief 2.5-second flight. Although the flight was modest in duration and height, it proved that the liquid propellants were a viable and efficient way to achieve rocket propulsion. Goddard's pioneering work earned him the title of the Father of Modern Rocketry and laid the groundwork for all future space exploration. This event is often compared to the Wright brothers' first flight as a foundational moment in history of transportation. The first orbital docking was accomplished March 16th, 1966. The Gemini 8 mission, crewed by Neil Armstrong, David Scott, performed the first ever docking of 2 spaceflight in Earth orbit. This critical maneuver with the Agena target vehicle was a vital prerequisite for the future Apollo lunar landing missions. However, shortly after docking, a stuck thruster caused the combined spacecraft to begin a dangerous and uncontrolled tumble in space. Armstrong was forced to undock and use the re-entry control system to stabilize the capsule, leading to an emergency early splashdown. And despite the shortened mission, the successful docking proved that orbital rendezvous and connections were achievable. Okay, on March 18th, 1965, Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov became the first human being to exit a spacecraft and float freely in the vacuum of space. During the Voskhod 2 mission, he spent approximately 12 minutes outside the airlock, secured only by a tether as he floated over the Earth. The historic spacewalk nearly ended in disaster when his spacecraft ballooned in the vacuum, making it almost impossible for him to re-enter the narrow airlock through the narrow airlock door. He was forced to manually bleed air from his suit to reduce its size and then squeeze back inside the spacecraft. This courageous feat proved that humans could work outside a spacecraft, opening the door for future orbital assembly and repair. And I imagine he had to worked pretty hard at getting back into through that door. Okay, March 13th, 1986, the Soyuz T-15 mission launched from Russia, marking the first and only time a single crew visited two different space stations during a single flight. Cosmonauts Leonid Kizim and Vladimir Soyolov first docked with the new Mir space station before ferrying over to the older Salyut 7 station. They spent several weeks at Salyut 7 performing experiments, retrieving valuable equipment before returning to Mir to complete their mission. This space taxi operation demonstrated the incredible flexibility and logistical capabilities of the Soviet orbital program. The mission remains a unique achievement in the history of modern multi-station orbital operations. Okay, and that is the last item in this week's edition. So we will hand it back to Tom and look forward to Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week or some nice jokes from Chaz. Okay, back to you, Tom, W5GUS.
All right, thank you, Gus. And this is KE5IX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. So we'll go ahead and send it back over to Chaz for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Chaz, what do you have?
You, Tom, and Gus, yes, we'll do Constellation of the Week and jokes, too. You know the jokes are the most important part of Skynet, right? Slide Master, slide number 19. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent T. Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012. Yep, we've been doing Skynet since 2012, every Saturday night. Well, we've only skipped a few, until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year, and in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation this week is Puppis, the poop duck. The constellation of Puppis is located in the southern hemisphere. It represents the stern of the ship Argo, on which Jason and the Argonauts sailed to get the golden fleece. Puppis, or Puppis, is used to be part of the much larger constellation of Argo Navis before the constellation was divided into several smaller ones. Carina, the keel; Vela, the sails; Puppis, the stern. Puppis is the largest of the three constellations. Find Puppis, start with the belt of Orion, draw a line from the southeast of the belt, which should result in running to the brightest star, Sirius. Keep on going past Sirius to the southwest, and you can find the constellation of Puppis. Now, slide number 20, the jokes of the week. Jokes of the week are usually associated with the constellation of the week, and if you're on Echolink, you can sit there and make comments over there on the chat session. If you're over here on YouTube, you can do the same thing on the chat session over there. I'm monitoring both locations, so you can boo or hiss or say good job or say that was a good one or whatever. All right, here we go. There was a captain sent after where was the captain sent after he hit another ship? Anchor management. Get it? Anchor management? No. Why does the Norway's ships in their Navy have barcodes on the side? So when they come back to port, they can scan the Navy in. Oh, come on, that was the best one, I think. How do Viking ships communicate with each other? By Norse code. What did the pirate say when his child caught the ship on fire? Argson. Why is it that the religious ships never make it far from port? Maybe because they are all holy. Maybe I should let that joke sink in. And the final one, oh wait, nope, I've got a second slide deck on jokes, but here we go, this is the last one on this slide deck. I just watched the documentary on how ships are kept together. It was riveting. Oh yes, and we have bonus jokes on the next slide, slide number 21. What kind of ships do vampires like the best? Blood vessels. Why is the ship called 3.14? Because it's filled with pirates. Get it? We just had Pi Day. March the 14th, yeah. Why do the ships have circular windows instead of square ones? So that if the window breaks, it doesn't hit you square in the face. And that was the last joke. And no comments on either Echolink or YouTube. Oh well. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 22. High Puppis at Miski is a misplacement, maybe, or a mistransliteration of the star for the traditional name of Iota Carina, which was derived from the Greek word meaning shield, which may be a reference to the shields that Jason and the Argonauts carried with them on their ship, the Argo. It's a G-type star, or a yellow star. It looks yellow in the telescope. Kappa Puppis is a nice double star. It is easy to split. Both stars appear yellowish white. The two stars are so much identical in color and brightness that they look like a distant set of car headlights. Slide Master, slide number 23. There are several Messier objects in this constellation. Let's talk about Messier object M46. Oh, last week, the Texas Astronomical Society held their their workday, picnic, and Messier marathon. A lot of people left after the picnic. They helped out with the workday and participated in the picnic, but they left because it was cloudy at sunset. Evidently, it cleared off at midnight, and several observers stayed to do as many of the EM objects as they could. I didn't get a report of how many they got to see, but I'll probably get that report next week at the meeting. So M46 is a nice open cluster. It is easy to find near M47 and is visible to the naked eye from a dark sky site. Both clusters are obvious in the finder scope. M46 fills the field of view from a 25 millimeter eyepiece at 84 power. There are many stars of varying brightness, none that are particularly stand out, but giving the initial impression of somewhat uniform brightness. The planetary nebula NGC 2438 is inside this star cluster. Slide master, slide number 24. M47 is seen from a dark sky site as well as a bright patch of the Milky Way. Visually, it is very different from the cluster of M46 that I just described. Overall, it is much more sparsely populated than M46, but the stars are mostly brighter, and they are more varied in brightness than those of M46. Slide master, slide number 25. Mid-day object M93, is easily spotted in a 50 millimeter finder scope. The fuzzy glow near the star that we just talked about earlier as Midsky, and it's a fairly sparse cluster of stars, mostly uniform in brightness. There are two stars that are somewhat brighter. One is a blue-white, the other one is noticeably an orange-red. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 26. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Puppis, the Poop Deck. I've just given you a sampling of some of those constellations and objects in the constellations, I should say. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 96 different observing sessions, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each week, well, how about within a month? 10 objects in a month. Then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year from the Astronomical League. And slide master, slide number 27, that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Puppis the Poop Deck. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week we'll take a look at lynx, yep, the wildcat, and cancer the crab. It's a 2 for a week. Yep, 2 constellations for the price of 1 admission to Skynet. And this is KF5JJ Jazz saying goodnight in 73. Back to our net control. We call them the father or grandfather of Skynet, KE5ICX. Tom, it's yours.
Well, thank you, Chad. Thank you for all the work that you do every week for this net. It's most appreciated as well. So, turn the favor. And this is KE5ICX, net control for Skynet. Well, these next 2 segments are normally mine anyway, so you get to hear from me. This information I filtered from the first segment, which is Space Launch site, Space Launch scheduling. This is from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. We have coming up tomorrow, March 22nd, Falcon 9 Starlink 10-62 launch from Cape Canaveral. This will be a Falcon 9 rocket with 29 Starlink V2 mini-optimized satellites going into low Earth orbit. Another batch of those 10,000 that are currently in orbit. First stage booster, tail number 1078, launching for the 27th time, will target a landing on the drone ship of shortfall of gravitas. Next up is March 23rd. This will be launched as Spectrum, onward and upward. This will be from Launch Complex 1. This is at the Goifia Spaceport in Norway. The Spectrum rocket will launch on its second test flight. The two-stage rocket is carrying 5 CubeSats on board. They're called CibeSat from TU Berlin, TriSat S from the University of Maribor, Platform 6 from EnduroSat, FrameSat 1 from NTNU, and Space Team Sat 1 from TU Vine Space Team. The 6th and final announced payload is an experiment called Let It Go, for the DQ EXO Launch is responsible for managing payload integration and deployment. And we have a March 24th, a launch of Daughter of the Stars. This will be from Launch Complex 1, this time from Mahia, New Zealand. The Electron rocket launched 2 satellites on a dedicated mission for the European Space Agency. This first flight for new European satellite navigation called Celestial PNT, Low Earth Orbit Position Navigation and Timing. This will ultimately be an 11-satellite constellation designed to understand how a low Earth orbit satellite fleet can mesh with other PNT assets in space, like Galileo, EGNOS, that's the European Geostationary Navigational Overlay Service, and other GNSS constellations to improve resilience and optimize services. The first 2 satellites, IOD-1 and IOD-2, will be deployed into a 510-kilometer circular orbit. We have March 16th. March 16th. How did that get in there? Oh, that's updated from March 16th. Pardon me, I just didn't read it right. March 24th, Falcon 9, Starlink 17-17. This will be from SOC-4E at Vandenberg. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch 25 Starlink V2s, that mini-optimized satellites into low Earth orbit. The first stage booster, tail number B1100, launching for the 4th time, will land on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, positioned in the Pacific Ocean. And we have on, check my time here, Pro SLC-40, Starlink 10-44. Same thing as I told you before. This first stage will be a tail number 1067, launching for the 34th time. We'll target a landing on the drone ship, just read the instructions. All right, I seem to have a whole bunch in here. Probably don't need to do that. Let me go find some that are interesting or different. We have launching sometime in March here, towards the end of the month, will be Bluebird 7. This will launch from Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral. Bluebird 7 satellite will go into low Earth orbit in the AST Space Mobile's next generation satellite constellation designed to support space-based cellular broadband. This will be the 3rd launch of the New Glenn rocket, which is what makes it significant, a big rocket, by the way. Blue Origin hasn't stated if it intends to attempt a booster recovery on this mission. They, too, have done 1 booster recovery so far, successfully. Then we have the Artemis 2 mission that we're very much interested in. April 1st is the first opportunity from Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy. This will launch the Orion spacecraft on the Artemis 2 mission, the first crewed flight of the program. NASA's astronauts Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, along with Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Henson, will perform a lunar flyby during a roughly 10-day mission that will see their capsule Integrity splash down in the Pacific Ocean. And then I have 2 others I think are really interesting. We have the Atlas V launch of the Boeing Starliner 1. This will launch, we don't have a time yet, but this will be from SOC-41. United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket will launch Boeing CST-100 Starliner spacecraft to the International Space Station. Originally planned as the first post-certification flight with a 4-person crew, this will instead be an uncrewed cargo flight to test changes in the vehicle made in the aftermath of the crewed flight test that launched in 2024. Then we have in the quarter 4, 2026, the Vulcan Centaur will launch Dream Chaser 1. We've been waiting for this for quite a while. This will be from SOC-41 at Cape Canaveral. The United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on its 2nd demonstration flight to the Sierra Space Dream Chaser cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. The Dream Chaser is a lifting body resupply spacecraft that will launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. This will be Dream Chaser's first flight into space. Vulcan Center rocket will fly in the VC-4L configuration. That's 4 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, a long-length payload pairing, and 2 RL-10 engines on the Centaur upper stage. All right, we'll take a brief break before we go into satellite passages over the next couple of days. If there is any additional check-ins, please come now.
This is Kilo Juliet 5, Oscar Zulu Yankee, checking in.
Okay, I've got KJ50ZY. Do you mind if I get your name and your location, please?
Yeah, my name is Shane, and I'm in Carrollton, Texas.
Okay, I got you. KJ50ZY. That's Shane over in Carrollton. Welcome, Shane, and glad you are here. Okay, let's see. Next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. This is from heavensabove.com. You can go there and get the information. All times that I'm giving you are Dallas times. So, and this is situated really in Louisville, but they're good enough for most of the Dallas area. The International Space Station we'll talk about here has several good passes. March 26th is a very good one, minus 2.0 magnitude at 2107 in the evening. Reaches its highest point at 21 degrees at 2109, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 2109, or going into shadow. Next one's minus 1.5 magnitude. That's about out of the north at 10 degrees. It reaches its highest point at 14 degrees at 2023, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 2024. The next one that is a really good pass is March 28th. That's a minus 3.8 magnitude. That's at 2109 in the northwest. It'll reach its highest point at 66 degrees at 2113, and it will fall to the east-northeast or into shadow at 2113, 20 at 64 degrees. So it'll fall into shadow middle of the sky, which is kind of interesting. Next up is the Tiangong Space Station, the Chinese station. We have a couple of good passes coming up. The best one is March 24th, minus 1.1 magnitude at 6:26 in the morning. Out of the west-southwest, reaches its, let me back that up. Let me do March 24th, minus 1.8 magnitude at 5:50 a.m. That's at 65 degrees out of shadow. It reaches its highest point at 65 degrees at 5:50. It'll fall to the east-southeast at 5:23. Then the March 23rd one, which I mentioned earlier, that one will be at 25 degrees at 6:26. Reach its highest point at 6:27, and it'll fall to the south-southeast at 10 degrees at 6:29. There we go. I got them all in there. So there's about, 5 or 6 reasonably good passes you should be able to see from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All right, it is 10:21. We're about 9 minutes until the next net. So I'll go ahead and ask if there are any questions, astronomical Q&A, anything anyone else would like to bring to the net. Here's your opportunity. Please come now with your call sign.
This is KJ50ZY. Wondering if anybody got a chance to see that blood red moon a couple of weeks ago. I tried to go out at about 5 a.m., but the sky was too cloudy where I was.
Okay, were you talking about the lunar eclipse?
That's correct, the eclipse.
Well, I don't live in the Dallas area anymore, but I did see it. I was up early. I run in the morning, early morning, and I was here in Corpus running some of the trails over on the south side, and it was clear. I could see it. It cleared out. Actually, it started, there were some clouds, low-level clouds, and about 20 minutes later it cleared out completely, and I saw it just after totality by a little bit. So I did get a little edge of a little sliver there of white, or a lighter color, and then red, blood red for everything else. So I did get to see it. So we got to see it as it was completing its totality and heading back into its normal shine. I saw it. Does anyone else want to mention their experience with the lunar eclipse a few weeks ago? Please come and call.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha.
KF5JJ, Chaz, go ahead.
I too had a problem with clouds. I did get to see the first few minutes about the first part of the umbral phase. There's a lighter part of the Earth shadow called the penumbra, and a darker part of the Earth shadow called the umbra. I got to see the moon covered up about 50% of the umbra, by the umbra, and then, well, the clouds rolled in. I briefly saw for about 2 seconds totality. Wasn't able to get an image of that. I was going to take a time-lapse sequence of the whole eclipse, and that didn't work out. But we have another opportunity in August. It's not quite a total eclipse, but it's 93% of the moon will be in the umbra of the Earth's shadow. So that'll be a good thing to take a look at. Hope it's clear on that tonight. This is KF5JJ.
All right, thank you, Chad. Anyone else have any comments about the total lunar eclipse or any additional questions for the net? We still have a few minutes. Okay, Shane, KJ50ZY, do you have any additional questions or comments you'd like to make?
No, thank you. That's about all for me. I just was disappointed that there was so much cloud coverage here in Carrollton. I walked out there, broke out the big camera and was going to go and try to get some good photos, but it was just nothing but clouds, so I was kind of disappointed. Over.
A few years ago, I think it was 2017, I went up to Kansas with one of the people who's checked in here on the net, N5BB. We headed up with a party of 4 to go see the solar eclipse, and we ended up with a low cloud cover that came in just as the eclipse started. And then when it reached totality, we still had low hanging clouds, almost 80, 90%. And then finally, during totality, we lucked out, and we got to see it just for about 20 seconds or so, and then it disappeared. We were at an airport, and there was this tremendous crowd, a shout, a parade as you're in darkness, and then all of a sudden you see the sun that you can look at with your naked eyes because it was at totality. It's a really wonderful experience. I finally got to really experience in Dallas a few years later and see it with no clouds whatsoever. So it can be tremendously disappointing when there's a major celestial event taking place and you don't get to see it because the stupid clouds got in the way. But many professional astronomers say they need a cloud filter they put on their telescope to mitigate that problem. They say that. There is no such thing. I'm just kidding. But it sure would be nice if there were one. I guess that's called getting above the clouds and not worrying about them. So, I don't know. But hopefully this next one that's coming up that Chaz mentioned will be useful and viewable. We can only hope. That's the only problem. We can't predict accurately what the weather is going to bring us on any given day. So it's the bane of many people who are astronomers, professional and amateur alike. So there you have it. Okay, any final check-ins before we conclude the net this evening? Anyone else want to join us or any comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close it out. Tonight we had 16 hams participating on the air, including your NCS. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls from any of the nets at nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio-video streams, archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:29 local time. And we're going to give it about 5 minutes before we begin the next net. And if anybody would like to take over, usually I'm net control, but if anybody would like to volunteer and take over net duties for tonight, I would appreciate it as my voice is starting.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow movie net.
Back in about 5 minutes to start that net with somebody. Maybe me, maybe not. We'll see. This is KE5 ICX, clear for now. Okay, it is time for the Afterglow Movie Net, and this one is a real stinker, folks. I did not see the final 20 minutes of the film. I did read the synopses here, and it's probably just as well I did not. Sounds like it was your typical horror core fest type of thing. Not my type of movie. I'm more into the science fiction stuff, but I also have a tendency to understand why horror films people like, not my favorites, mainly because they know it's all fake anyway, and they just find it really fascinating how they're able to pull off the special effects that they do with those type of films. So, not for me so much. At any rate, I can read this plot, but it goes on and on and on. I don't know why the less good, the worse the movie, the longer the plot synopses are. But this one goes on and on and on. I think so because sometimes there's a lot of talking going on. Although there was quite a bit of action from the scenes that I saw in the film. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about it. This is from Wikipedia. Credit them with all of the background details. It had a working title of The Visitors as well as a 2014 Canadian science fiction horror film directed by a guy named Colin Minahan and one half of the Vicious brothers, who co-produced, wrote, and edited the film. It stars Brittany Allen, Freddie Stroma, and Melanie Papalia as a group of friends who must defend themselves against an alien onslaught. Surprisingly, there's a Michael Ironside in there who I recognize, who's been in a number of science fiction films and television. He's probably better known, although maybe not as well known, in Sequest after Roy Scheider left the series. He took over. So let's see, what's it say about the film outside of the long part here? It says the film had its world premiere on April 18, 2014 under the banner of IFC Midnight, which is how you'll find it online. This critical reception for Extraterrestrial has been predominantly negative. IndieWire gave the film a C- and commented that it was an example of how not to make a horror film. Tangora and Bloody Disgusting both expressed disappointment over the film, so you can kind of get a feel for really it's more of a horror film than a science fiction abduction story, aliens and all that, as both felt that Extraterrestrial utilized too many familiar tropes and cliches of sci-fi horror movies. In contrast, Denny Geek gave the film a mostly positive review and commented on that the movie had clever visuals to occasionally distract from its mediocrity. Jack Bottomley of Starburst magazine also wrote a more positive, if slightly mixed review, saying Extraterrestrial is untaxing, albeit regularly cliched watch, but still a fun dose of sci-fi horror, even if the search for the truly modern alien horror goes on. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has aggregated a score of 28% based on 11 positive and 29 negative critic reviews. The website consensus reads, Extraterrestrial does deliver a certain amount of gory genre thrills, but they're outweighed by the crushing cliches of a sagging plot. All right, let's go ahead and take check-ins. We'll see how this goes this evening. I will take your call sign, hopefully phonetically, your name, and did you see tonight's wonderful film, Extraterrestrial from 2014? Please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas? I saw about 40% of it. I apologize, I cannot volunteer as net control.
Oh my, I must have scared everybody off with that request. But I did get you, Tony, NT5TM in Dallas. Yes, you saw 2/3 of the movie. That's about what I saw. Anyone else want to check in? Don't worry about it. I asked, and it was the last-minute thing, so don't feel bad. Don't be bashful. Come on aboard. Please come with your call, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Extraterrestrial, from 2014.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland, and yeah, I saw this movie and went the distance.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, this is Virginia in Fort Worth. I was gonna kind of puke out on this one, but things are a little thin, so I'll stick around, and I only got through about 3/4 of this god-awful piece of crap.
Okay, WFTLC, Bill and Garland, yes, he saw the movie, and NB5S Virginia, who's sticking around only because he likes to stick it to the guy who created this film. She did see 2/3 of this, as she calls it, god-awful piece of crap. Anyone else want to admit that they saw this film and was brave the descriptive, non-descriptive qualities of this film? Please come now. All right, well, I have a feeling it's going to be very lightly attended tonight, maybe because of the movie or something else. It is March Madness. I think there's a game on almost 24/7. So maybe that has something to do with it, or it could be just a terrible movie. So we'll go ahead and start with Tony, NT5TM. What you got for us this evening on this film? Plot-wise, I guess. We'll try that, and then we'll see if we get a distant check-in.
Well, thank you, Tom. Yeah, the bird is staying up late tonight, so I can't sit at my main radio. I'm here mainly because I wanted to hear Virginia insult the movie. I mean, it just completely failed to hold my attention. It was one silly cliche after another. The character's stupidity being required to advance the plot having no engagement for me at all, and oh, look, a tree fell across the road. I mean, if it's been done before, they did it again, and if it's been done several times before, they were even more likely to do it again. So apparently I missed the gore fest at the end, but that's okay. I'm glad I chickened out early. Had fun. I made a nice dinner last night, though. I had fun with that. And I did get Virginia's recommendation of the Cary Grant movie, Operation Petticoat. So that kind of paid off. I haven't seen it yet, but Aaron loves Cary Grant, and it sounds like a fun and interesting film, so I'll watch that instead of finishing this. NT5TM.
All right, very good, Tony. And yes, I agree with you. I agree with Virginia. Operation Petticoat with Cary Grant's a great movie, so you will enjoy it. There was also a television series that was made, and it's not as good, and it only lasted, I think it was like 6 or 8 episodes. I think they are online. If I remember, the star of that was John Ashton of playing the Cary Grant role, of all things, who played Gomez Addams in The Addams Family. he's a good actor. He's a lot of fun to watch. I think he faithfully reproduced the character, the captain of the ship, quite accurately. But the movie will always be by far the best. Okay, next up is Bill, W5DLT. Bill, your thoughts on the plot? I'm not sure exactly how you're going to be able to describe this thing. This one was a challenge for sighted individuals. I don't even know. Maybe it was better for you that way. I don't know. It was quite a film. But your comments, sir, from KE5ICX.
Well, I'm going to attempt to do this somehow. I think basically what happened, and if I could do a Afterglow gong show, I would put 5 movies up. Maybe we should do this at field day or go to a cabin in the woods on a rainy night with a big thunderstorm happening, and we could put 5 movies up against each other. They get 5 minutes each, and then we determine which one we're going to watch. And this one I would have gonged in the first minute or two when the first woman appeared at the store, I guess, wanting help, and I don't know if she saw aliens or something. I was ready to gong it then, but I stuck through, and I think basically the plot, it's been done before. They kind of did the same, just different cliches or things in a movie, but this is horrible. I wanted to gong it. It was awful. George Lucas is a genius. I will never insult anything he does again, or J.J. Abrams for that matter. Instead of Roger, was it Corman? This was Gorman, I think. There was a lot of gore, I think. I was using AI and trying to get descriptions from the internet. You know, we open and there's a girl and a guy, and the girl's talking to her mom, and she wants to get pictures so they can sell this cabin. And the dad calls up and wants the daughter to get the fishing poles and the shotgun from the basement because he doesn't want the mom to have it. And then the boy, I think his name is Kyle, he invites all these friends up to go with him to the cabin. And they go to the cabin, and he proceeds to propose, and she says no. Everybody's, you know, getting drunk, and then they have some guy filming with a video camera, and this spaceship crashes. I think they shoot the alien with the shotgun, and that upsets the other aliens. And then they're hunted down, and a military project and or something, I guess, and aliens do something and is torturing them, killing the others. I think there's some animals get mutilated because that's what bad aliens do. And the 2 people, the girl and Kyle, survive only to be killed by our military, I guess, is how it basically goes, if I understand everything correctly. Wonderful movie. I'll save my comments for the AI and what it told me about the special effects. And I'll save my comments for the characters, but that's kind of summarizing it. Oh, and I think the sheriff lost his wife or something. One of the guys lost his wife a few years ago and probably was kidnapped by the aliens. And, you know, of course, if I understood it correctly, if I'm not getting my characters mixed up, because it was really hard to follow, we had the sheriff kind of telling the kids to behave because they've had disappearances or something, but yet I think it was a sheriff's wife. Maybe it was a Vietnam vet's wife. I got confused. Oh, and I think they, if I'm not mistaken, along with everybody else, I think our Vietnam hero got killed, if I followed it correctly. you know, I didn't have the inclination with NCAA March Madness going on and all the racing I was watching and the dog sitting I was doing to really go back and parse this together again. But what a horrendous train wreck. That's all I got to say. It's a train wreck. It's a horrible plot. I don't know if they couldn't decide what they want to be or if they just want to do some movie killing people and you know, just wonderful violent gore fest. There was, you know, and the aliens were flying a spaceship in a thunderstorm. You know, my mom told me to be careful of thunderstorms, but apparently these smart aliens didn't learn from that. And then I don't understand why the kids didn't use the shotgun over again. So if I understand the movie, that's what happened. Everybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's pretty awful. W5BLT, back to you, Tom.
I think an adulterated train wreck pretty much sums it up. But wait, Virginia seems to be lit up over this film, even though she didn't finish it. She probably switched the TV off in disgust and stomped off to bed, hoping for better nightmares than this movie. So, NV5F, Virginia, please enlighten us with your feelings on this film from KE5ICX.
Okay, well, what happened was I got to the really gory part towards the end, and I kind of figured out what this was, and so then I stomped off to YouTube to watch the rest of Operation Petticoat, which I was about halfway through, to try to clear my buffers before I tried to go to bed. I didn't want to try to go to sleep on that, so finished that wonderful submarine film starring the USS Vallejo, one of my favorite World War II submarines. It steals the show, of course. You'll have to see why, Tony, if you see this movie. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I did. So I am not a horror person. We've watched plenty of kind of scary things, spooky things, even some horror. We watched the big, what is it, Night of the Living Dead, or whatever that zombie movie was from the 60s that actually turned out to be pretty good in that it was very effective at what it was doing and engaging enough to keep me, the non-horror fan, watching. But anyway, I know that this genre got very, very popular when I was younger, and now it has morphed into what I would call, what do they call it, grindhouse, or just, you know, body horror, you know. It's just, the whole point of it is introduce a bunch of characters, make them obnoxious so that nobody likes them, and then torture them and have them tortured. And I got into the part of the plot where it seemed like everyone had ended up on the spaceship. You know, you had the boyfriend who was gonna save the girls who were in the basement and left them there, and of course he got sucked up into the spaceship, and that one girl like overdosed, and I guess she died of an overdose in the basement, and then the girl who had broken up with Kyle, you know, wanted to realize she loved him, and so she stupidly set off a flare to try to get the damn spaceship to come back. Pardon my French. Sorry, FCC, please don't send me one of those pink cards. Anyway, she called the spaceship back to come get her so she could try to save her boyfriend, you know, and then they're all there in I guess they're all, and then it's kind of like Independence Day, the little spaceships go into the big spaceship, and they're all in all this gross stuff that they're all mired up in and cocooned up in, and then the obnoxious guy who ended up getting sucked up by the spaceship after he ran out of ammunition in his handgun, he was being tortured by the aliens, and that's about where I got off, because I started to realize what this was. I figured I was going to spend the next 20 to 25 minutes watching young people being tortured by really mean aliens who, have no reason to be mean except that they're just mean. And I don't particularly like the whole UFO, little mean gray aliens coming to Earth and torturing humans for no good reason. I've just never really bought that, and don't believe in UFOs, and I don't believe in those aliens, and I don't like horror, and I don't like body horror, and I don't like movies about suffering, and I honestly think the source of this kind of stuff is just evil, and so when I finally get to the point where I'm, overwhelmed by that feeling, I just check out. So anyway, this started pretty typical with all the usual suspects, and they were all obnoxious so that we would enjoy watching them suffer. I don't know. And then the best character was the Vietnam veteran marijuana farmer friend from down the street, and the only thing that would have kept me watching would be to see if he came back in the end and hadn't died and somehow came back and saved everybody or kicked the aliens' butts. But the alien got him early in the movie, and I wasn't banking on him making some kind of a comeback, even though they didn't really specifically show his demise. So yeah, this was pretty obvious from the very start, kind of what was gonna go down. And it was all dark and murky, and I was trying to figure out if the lady that the cop found after her kid and husband got abducted, and that she got tortured by the aliens and brought back or left there. I was trying to figure out if she was the woman who was in the phone booth at the beginning of the movie, like that, because she kept saying something about her boys. The aliens had taken her boys, and I was trying to figure out if that was the same person, because these movies are so dark, and if it's a minor character, it's hard to tell what's going on. So yeah, this had the cast of usual suspects, and I figured that maybe by the end Kyle and April were still alive, but I just wasn't willing to go through the torture that I would have to go through to find that out. So yeah, predictable and terrible and not the least bit edifying or useful in any way. I give it a negative 11 out of 10. Back to net in V5F.
Well, Virginia, you never fail to disappoint, and you definitely can convey your disappointment in a succinct and accurate way. I don't make my comments along a similar line, only to say that what possesses these people to make these films? I mean, first off, this is a plot that's been done to death over and over and over and over and over and over again. All of the tropes we've seen in good movies and bad, from E.T. to Close Encounters of the Third Kind to, I don't know, the Freddy movies and all that, all mixed into one. Maybe it's an homage to these other films. I don't know. But why on earth would you want to just do that? Why? What? To make money, yes, I suppose, but you would think that filmmakers would have at least an interest or probably the budget allowed for. Even, some of the acting rose to adequate. It wasn't completely inept, but the story was hacked up, the typical stuff that you would expect, and you could, the old basement routine's my favorite. All of them go down in the basement. Or like the ad they have on TV where they go, let's hide behind all those chainsaws. That's basically what it looks like. That sort of thing. It's just really annoying. When you have the opportunity to make something and you do have a financial backing, make something good. Make an art house film if you can. Find somebody who writes a good story if you can. Say this is an opportunity to move forward. Maybe that's what the director did. I don't know. And how the heck do you get Michael Ironside to show up in a movie like this? I wouldn't say he was an A-list actor, but he was a very strong B-list actor. He's done like a million things. How the heck did he get mixed up in this mess? I guess it's a paycheck. Okay, well, that was my comments. I'll see if anyone else wants to check in. Please come now.
Kilo Bravo 90 Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this, unfortunately, to the end.
Okay, you're always the last to check in. You benefit. And you got a chance to, who is it? Bill actually gave a wonderful synopsis to the story. That was something I wasn't going to do. He did a great job adding his own colorful metaphors along the way. So you probably heard that. Virginia completed as far as she got. And Sean, you were probably the only dubious person here who had seen the entire film. So you're up. Tell us first how you felt about it, and then explain the stupid ending to us that we didn't see from KE5 ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I agree with what everybody said. This was complete trash. This was, obviously just somebody that was a fan of the really bad, just gore-fest, horror-type films, and apparently had watched a few episodes of Ancient Aliens and decided to shove all that into it, and that's what they come up with. I don't get these movies either. I don't know why they're made. They're absolutely horrible. I mean, you can't do good horror movies. Take Aliens for instance, the original. You can't do good horror and have it be halfway intelligent. Actually showed that people were thinking and actually had strategies, and we just didn't go hide in the basement. I don't know, if you're a true fan of horror-style films, you would have to have some intelligence and uniqueness to it if you really want to make a good one. I'm too not a fan of just the gore nonstop. Let's just see how ridiculous we can make it. Definitely not a fan of that. But I did push through this one. Virginia got 90% of the way. Actually, she was pretty much done. There was only a little left. And unfortunately, this movie ended pretty much how it went. It ended even stupider than the rest of the movie. Our quote-unquote heroes, Kyle and I can't remember the girl's name for nothing. But anyway, the girl that decided to go up on the ship and rescue him, she does rescue him. She finds him. They hold each other. The aliens apparently take pity on them and sit down to earth unharmed, even. But then, you're all going to love this. Our lovely government decided to kill them because they knew too much. Yes, everybody dies. This should make probably Tom very happy. He's always wishing for this. It's not happened like 3 times this year. It's got to be some kind of record. But literally, no one lives. And, completely dumb ending. Just all around a pretty horrible movie. And, it's a shame this one got made. And I agree. I don't know how Ironside's ever agreed to this. Must need to pay some taxes or something. I don't know. But I'm not going to add much else because the other has been pretty well explained. So back to that. KB9SOK.
All right, well, it sounds to me like everyone is in complete agreement. This was a complete waste of our time, the actors' time, and the audience's time. Okay, well, let me do this. I'm not going to belabor the point. It's been a long evening for me, but I will go ahead and ask if anyone would like to make any final points about this film. Come now with your call, and we'll go down that list, but I don't feel like we're going to have a lot of fun going through character development and special effects. So I'm just going to say we'll do this one round. If you've got some final comments, you want to kick the can, whatever you want to do, here is your opportunity. I'm going to go find a movie for next week, so hopefully a better one. Anyone have any additional comments, please come now.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato.
W5BLT may have the final word. Go ahead.
Well, the one thing I was going to say, and I thought it was interesting because the two military guys at the end, what are we going to do? And the one guy says same thing we always do, and that's when I don't think you can call them our heroes, but the guy and the girl I think get shot. And then I was going through with AI and having Google describe the scenes to me. Dark, depressing, dreary, bloody, all that was, being described. But at the end, I think there was the body in the field as they're playing Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky. And it's just horrible. And I started thinking, as a blind guy, I'm like, man, how do you guys, and I think Virginia answered this well, like, who wants to see this? I don't even want to have it described. So hopefully next week's movie is better, and AI will say it's a happy movie. But yeah, this was very awful. But I did get to learn about, how to use it to describe scenes, and not that I wanted those scenes described, but there it is. W5BLT.
What else can I say? All right, let's see here. I'm trying to, give me a second here, and then I want to check something before I make the announcement. Hold on, I got to do a little Google search. I'll be right back. Okay, it looks like I'm going to look into this and see, but I think Pluto TV has all the Star Trek films available for free. So I'm going to I'm going to pick one here and see. They even have, no, we're not going to do that, Star Trek, the Director's Edition for Star Trek the Motion Picture, which really isn't bad, but maybe Rathacon might be good. I will say the quality is excellent. Some of the best I've seen with HD, so maybe one of those. Somebody mentioned Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. We could watch that one. I recently watched that, but I could probably watch it again. Let's do that. We'll do Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. I'll make sure that it's available live on demand. I believe it is. They're actually streaming the Star Trek movies 24/7. So, and I think that's been going on for a while. I found it through a different source. I did not know it was Pluto TV. I'm still not entirely sure it was Pluto TV, but in any case, it was there. So we'll do that. We'll do Star Trek The Voyage Home. Unless anybody has any other suggestions. If anybody's got another suggestion they would like, I'm more than happy to entertain it and see if it's available. We've got time, so if you've got a suggestion, by all means, make it now, and I'll look it up and see if it's available.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
No, Tony, you cannot recommend Operation Petticoat unless the submarine goes into orbit. But what do you have?
Well, actually, I wasn't going to suggest that. What I was going to say was, actually not any specific movie, but I know Aaron has given me suggestions in the past, and I don't have the list here with me, and I don't remember them. It's late, we're all sleepy. I will see what I can find tomorrow and refresh your memory of them for future consideration. NT5TM. BD.
Who braved his way up to finally admit that he's here. He's been hiding behind his radio, unwilling to press the push to talk and discuss our movie, but he has a suggestion. I'm speaking in the third person. That would be Bill and 5PD. What you got?
Yes, sir, Tom. This is N5EV. You scoped out the situation. I watched a little bit of the movie for this evening and decided I just didn't want to watch the rest of it. Especially when skipping forward, it got even worse. So I've had the radio on over here, kind of low, listening to people saying bad things about the movie. And then I heard something about finding another movie. So I noticed that, the Andersons, Sylvia and is it Jerry? The ones that originally made the marionette science fiction movies and then moved into other things. One of their first live action thing was the series called UFO. And we watched, I believe, the first one of those many years ago, like 7 years ago or something, I think, on Afterglow. But I think that's the only one we've seen in that series. And it's really pretty well produced. So you might want to look at some other ones of that series by, was it Jerry and Sylvia, if I have their names right, Anderson? The ones that originally had the marionettes and then moved on to bigger and better things. UFO series. There's a lot of them. Inside BB.
Husband and wife team that did the marionettes, super marionation actually. There was I was looking for a version of I think that it was a pilot for a television series. It was called The Day After Tomorrow was, I think, the episode, and it had a second name. Maybe it was the episode name. And it had some of the cast from Space 1999 between Season 1 and Season 2. And they put them in this thing about I think a traveling family in space, sort of a Lost in Space thing, but a little different vibe to it. And it looked interesting, but I couldn't find it for free. There's been, they did do a feature film, I believe it's called Journey to the Far Side of the Sun. We did do that many years ago. That's not a bad film. It's not a great film, but it's not a bad film, and it's sure as hell better than what we watched this week. This one might just fall in the category of the worst we've seen, although it was more entertaining with action. The ones with the worst review are the ones that aren't where they talk you to death and nothing happens. And those are considered generally the absolute nadir of the thing. I'll go and look. There's certainly we can find something through Google to find out. I know they've done some other things. The UFO series was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It had hit and miss like others. The aliens did some pretty stupid things, but so did the folks. But yeah, I like the UFO series quite a bit. Maybe even slightly better than, say, Space 1999, though there were some things I liked, special effects-wise, and that were better. Anyway, okay, yeah, we'll look into it and see. And Tony, if you've got something you recommend and can find, I always value your opinion as well. So if you see something there you think that this group would like, I would be more than happy to do it. My only restriction would be that it be available online. The exception to that would be a super famous film that we all know that we would like to talk about, which we might want to do just to get some fresh air again, because we do an awful lot of really what turned out to be pretty terrible movies. So there you have it. Any other comments?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I hope we can get back to some movies that are not horror, and some of these time travel ones are just too goofy, if you know what I mean. And the horror and they just go off the road like the one today. So we can get back to some straight sci-fi kind of stuff. Just regular action with reasonable plots and reasonable production values, and ones that were, produced by good people, as opposed to somebody doing it in their basement, releasing it online. Okay, see you later. Thanks. 5B declared.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I'll just make my final comment here is that when I go and I try and find a film, I try and find something new that we're not familiar with, and I don't try and do a lot of review because I want to see the film kind of cold and then have a reaction. So there's danger with that, because you can end up with something that's pretty terrible. And that does happen in science fiction frequently because it's a tricky medium, and that's part of the intrigue with this group is that anything can be a train wreck, and we definitely had one this week. That sometimes the discussion can be interesting as to why it became a train wreck, what went wrong, and in some cases just inexplicable, like this one. It makes no sense why it was so bad. It has anybody who is making a movie in the last 15 years pretty much knows what constitutes a horrible movie, and yet they make it anyway. So you got to wonder what that's all about. So in the end, I try and find different films that, and we've had some good ones. We've had a couple of films, I don't remember their names, but Jerome Bixby, who is a wonderful science fiction writer and wrote some of the best episodes of Star Trek, has had some screenplays or stories, short stories, that were made into movies that were excellent, including by his own son. And you don't know that these are going to be that good until you watch them, and they're hidden gems. They are the exception to the rule, certainly, but there are a few out there. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to call it a night. I did my 14-mile run this morning and then did some stuff around here in the building. We had went to lunch with David and Deborah Lewis, who are regulars on this net at night. They're in town for a high school reunion, 55-year reunion. So we went out and had dinner today, or had lunch today over at a place called Snoopy's, and came back. So I've had a full day, so I'm more than willing to go to bed, and I am definitely sleeping in tomorrow. I've earned it. So say 7-3 to everybody. Have a good evening, everyone, and we will catch you all again next week. I will send out whatever the movie happens to be. I'm going to do a little more research. Because I was moving this week, it was very difficult to really plan really effectively for new movies, and I try and find some stuff, and I've got them, but there's a list of some in here, and I don't know what they're about. So I would like to do a quick review before sending something out. So say 7-3. See you all next week, same bad time. Look for your email in the morning in the inbox with what next week's movie will be. And if you got something to offer, please offer it. I'll make the appropriate adjustments. More than happy to do something that people want to see, not just anything. So good night, everyone. This is KE5 ICX. Now clear.